My family cut off my education to protect their favorite daughter. The next day, I left them with nothing but a backpack. They thought I ran away because I was weak. They had no idea I was leaving to become strong. I kept a ledger. Every dollar they spent on her, every time they forgot I existed. My father said, I have to protect my family. He meant her, not me. 3 years later, he got down on his knees and begged me to come home. My name is Ava Morgan, and I am the ghost of my family's future. They don't know it yet. As I stand in the Greyhound bus station in Denver, Colorado, with a backpack full of cheap clothes and $300 folded inside my sock, they are probably sitting at their long oak dinner table. My father, Richard, is carving the roast chicken. My stepmother, Evelyn, is smoothing her hair and smiling her tight smile. And my stepsister, Chloe, is talking about her new BMW. They think I am in my room studying. They think they have won, but I left a letter on my pillow. It says 3 sentences. You cut off my education to protect her reputation. You chose a lie over my future. I am gone, and when I come back, you will owe me everything. They will laugh when they read it. My father will say, she's being dramatic. Evelyn will say, she'll be back by morning. Chloe will roll her eyes and ask for more potatoes. They are wrong. Let me start from the beginning. I was 7 years old when my mother died. Her name was Sarah Morgan. She was a nurse with soft hands and a laugh that filled our small apartment in Portland. She used to say, Ava, you are going to change the world with that brain of yours. I didn't know what that meant then. I just liked sitting on her lap while she read me science books about stars and engines and the way things worked. She got sick in October. By December, she was gone. Ovarian cancer, fast and mean like a storm that comes out of nowhere. My father, Richard, fell apart. He couldn't look at me without seeing her. I looked too much like her, he said once, late at night when he thought I was asleep. Same brown eyes, same way of tilting my head when I was thinking. So he did what broken men do. He found someone to fix him. Evelyn came into our lives 6 months later. She was a real estate agent with long red nails and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She had a daughter, Chloe, who was 2 years older than me. Chloe had blonde curls and a way of crying that made everyone stop everything they were doing. She could turn on tears like a faucet. I learned that fast. I remember the first dinner at their house. Evelyn made lasagna. I said, this is delicious, thank you, because my mother had taught me manners. Chloe said, I only eat the crust. Then she pushed her plate away and cried until Evelyn made her a pizza from scratch. My father watched this and smiled. He looked at me and said, Ava, be nice to your new sister. I wanted to say, she's not my sister. My mother is dead. My mother is dead and you are already replacing her. But I saw the exhaustion in his eyes, the deep tiredness of a man who had lost too much. So I nodded and said, okay, Daddy. That was the first lesson. My feelings came last. We moved into Evelyn's house in the suburbs. It was a big white house with a porch swing and a garden that Evelyn never touched because she had a gardener for that. My mother's photos went into a box in the garage. Her cookbooks went into a trash bag. Her clothes went to Goodwill. My father signed off on all of it because he said he couldn't bear to look at them. I kept one thing, a small photo of my mother holding me as a baby. I hid it under my mattress. At night, I would take it out and whisper to her, I miss you, Mommy. I won't forget you. I promise. The pattern started quickly and never stopped. Chloe needed everything. She needed new clothes every month because she didn't like the old ones. She needed a horse because her friend had one and she couldn't be left behind. She needed a phone at 10, a laptop at 11, a car at 16. Evelyn gave her everything, and my father signed the checks without looking at the amounts. I learned to be small. I learned to make myself invisible. I got good grades without being asked. I cleaned the kitchen without being told. I never complained about my old jeans or the fact that I shared a bathroom with Chloe, who left her hair in the drain and called me charity case when Evelyn wasn't listening. But I had a secret. I was smart. Not just good at school smart, real smart. The kind of smart that solves problems other people don't even see. In middle school, I won the regional science fair with a project on water filtration. In high school, I got a perfect SAT score without a tutor. My teachers called me exceptional. My guidance counselor, Mrs. Alvarez, pulled me aside one day and said, Ava, you can go anywhere. Ivy League, full scholarships. The sky is the limit for someone like you. I believed her. I believed that if I worked hard enough, I could escape. I could go to a good college, become an engineer, and never again depend on people who looked at me like I was an inconvenience they had to tolerate. My father noticed my grades. He said, "That's nice, honey." Then he went back to watching football with Chloe, who was failing math but didn't care because Evelyn had already donated $10,000 to the private school to keep her on the softball team. I tell you all this so you understand. I was not a bad person. I was not jealous of Chloe. I was just tired. Bone tired, soul tired, tired of being the afterthought in my own life. The breaking point came last spring. I was 17, a junior in high school. Chloe was 19, a sophomore at a small private college that cost $40,000 a year. She was studying communications, which meant she went to class twice a week and posted photos of her lattes on Instagram the rest of the time. She had already failed 2 classes. She had already been put on academic warning. I had spent 2 years applying for every scholarship I could find. I had a spreadsheet with 47 entries. I had written 30 essays about my mother's death, my love of science, my dream of becoming a mechanical engineer. I had cried over half of them, but I had sent every single one, and it had worked. I had offers. MIT offered me a partial scholarship. Stanford too, Cornell, all of them covering most of the cost, but not all. I still needed help. College is expensive, even with scholarships. I needed my father to co-sign loans. I needed him to cover the gap between my financial aid and the actual cost of tuition, room, and board. About $15,000 a year. That was it. I sat him down in his office on a Tuesday evening. Evelyn was at a wine tasting. Chloe was out with friends. It was just us, father and daughter, in a room filled with his golf trophies and his law degrees. "Dad," I said, "I need to talk to you about college." He looked up from his laptop. "What about it?" "I got the acceptance letters. MIT offered me a partial scholarship. Stanford too. I need about $15,000 a year for the rest. If you co-sign, I can get loans. I'll pay them back myself. I already have a plan." He took off his reading glasses. He rubbed his eyes. For a moment, I saw something soft in his face. Something that looked like the father I remembered from before my mother died. Then it was gone. "Ava," he said, "I need to tell you something." My stomach tightened into a knot. "Chloe had an incident at school," he said. "She was caught cheating on a final exam. The university is putting her on academic probation. They might expel her if she doesn't get a tutor and go through their integrity program. Evelyn is very upset. She hasn't slept in 3 days." I waited. I already knew where this was going. I had known for years. "We hired a lawyer," he said. "A very expensive one. The lawyer says we need to show that the family is committed to Chloe's education. That means we are putting all our financial resources toward her legal fees and her new tutoring program. It's going to be about $60,000 this year alone." "Okay," I said slowly. My voice was calm, but my hands were shaking under the table. "But my tuition is separate. I'm not asking you to pay for me, just co-sign. That doesn't cost anything unless I default." He put his glasses down. He looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Pity, guilt, exhaustion. "Your credit is tied to mine as long as you're a dependent," he said. "If I co-sign for you, it shows up on my credit report. The lawyer said we need perfect credit to convince the university that Chloe comes from a stable family. Any new debt could hurt her case, even a co-sign loan." I felt the floor tilt beneath me. My chest got tight. "So you're saying no?" "I'm saying we need to focus on Chloe right now," he said. "You're a smart girl, Ava, the smartest person I know. You can wait a year. Work, save money, start at community college, then transfer. You'll still get where you're going. It will just take a little longer." I had heard this before. Wait, be patient, put Chloe first. Always, always, always put Chloe first. "Dad," I said, and my voice cracked. "MIT doesn't wait. If I defer, I lose my scholarship. I lose everything. This is my one chance, my only chance." He stood up. He walked to the window. He stood with his back to me, looking out at the garden that Evelyn never touched. "I'm sorry, Ava," he said. "I have to protect my family." My family, not me. He meant Evelyn and Chloe. I was not his family. I was the daughter of his dead wife. I was the obligation. The reminder of a life he had buried so deep he couldn't even look at a photograph. I stood up. I did not cry. I had learned not to cry in front of them years ago. Okay, I said. I understand. I walked out of the office. I went to my room. I closed the door. I sat on my bed and stared at the wall for a long time, hours maybe. The sun went down. The house got dark. I heard Chloe come home. I heard her laugh at something on her phone. I heard my father pour himself a drink. I heard Evelyn come back from her wine tasting, and I heard her ask, "Did you talk to her?" And I heard him say, "Yes, it's handled." Handled. Like I was a problem to be solved. Like I was a leaky faucet or a broken drawer. I thought about my mother's soft hands. I thought about the box in the garage. I thought about every dinner where I passed the bread to Chloe first, every holiday where I smiled while she opened 10 presents and I opened one, every year of my life where I had been the afterthought in my own story. Then I stopped thinking. I opened my laptop. I looked up bus tickets. I looked up cheap apartments in cities far away. I looked up jobs that didn't require a diploma. I looked up community colleges in other states. I looked up shelters for runaway teens, just in case. By midnight, I had a plan. It was not a good plan. It was a survival plan, the kind of plan you make when you have no other options. By morning, I had a backpack. I put in 3 changes of clothes, my mother's photo, my birth certificate, and my social security card. I had $300 from a savings account I had hidden from Evelyn. I had been putting money in it for 2 years, $5 here, $10 there, from babysitting and dog walking and selling my old textbooks online. I wrote the letter, 3 sentences. I left it on my pillow. Then I walked out the front door. I did not look back. I did not hesitate. I walked to the bus station in the dark and I bought a ticket to the farthest place I could afford. Chicago, 22 hours away. Someplace where no one knew my name. The bus ride was the longest night of my life. I sat next to a woman who smelled like cigarettes and told me her whole life story. She was running from an abusive husband. She had 3 kids with her sister. She had no money and no plan. I listened to her and I thought, we are the same. We are both women who had to leave to survive. I pretended to sleep, but my mind was on fire. Every bump in the road felt like a door closing. Every mile took me farther from the White House and the porch swing and the garden that no one touched. I had no phone. I had left it on my nightstand because it was on my father's plan and I didn't want them to track me. I had no family except a distant aunt in Texas who I hadn't spoken to in years. I had no friends who could help because I had never had time for friends. I had school and work and survival. Chicago was cold in April. Colder than I expected. The wind came off the lake like a knife. I got off the bus at the downtown station and walked until I found a shelter for runaway teens. A place called the Nightlight. The woman at the front desk had kind eyes and a tired face. She asked me my name. I almost gave a fake one. But then I said, "Ava, my name is Ava." "Welcome, Ava," she said. "You're safe here," I cried for the first time. Not because I was sad, because someone had said my name like it mattered. I stayed at the Nightlight for 3 weeks. I washed dishes at a diner called the Corner Booth for cash under the table. The owner was a man named Sal who had a thick mustache and a thick accent and a thick heart. He asked me one question on my first day. "You work hard?" I said yes. He said, "Then you have a job." He paid me $8 an hour and let me eat leftover pancakes at the end of my shift. I saved every penny. I found a room for rent in a house with 4 other girls who were also running from something. The house was old and drafty. The walls were thin. We shared one bathroom that was always dirty. But it was mine. I had a key. No one could tell me to leave. I enrolled in community college as a non-degree student. City College of Chicago. I took 1 class at a time, paying as I went. English first, then math, then physics. I worked 40 hours a week at a warehouse packing boxes. My hands got calluses. My back ached every night. But every night, I studied. I read my textbooks under a cheap lamp while the other girls in the house watched TV or argued with their boyfriends. The first year was a blur of exhaustion and loneliness. I did not celebrate my 18th birthday. I did not go to movies or parties. I worked, I studied, I slept. I kept my head down and my eyes forward. I thought about my family every day, not with love, with calculation. I needed to understand what had happened so I could make sure it never happened again. I started a journal. I called it the ledger. In it, I wrote down every dollar they had spent on Chloe that I could remember or prove. The horse. $12,000. The car, $28,000. The private school, $30,000 a year for 4 years. The college tuition, $40,000 a year for 2 years so far. The lawyer, $15,000. The tutor, $5,000. The vacations to Europe, while I stayed home and babysat the neighbor's dog for $20 a day. $15,000. I wrote down every moment they had pushed me aside. Chloe's dance recitals that I had to attend, but she never came to my science fairs. My father forgetting to pick me up from school because Chloe had a tantrum about her hair. Evelyn throwing away my mother's cookbook because it was taking up space and making the kitchen look cluttered. I wrote down the words, charity case, be nice to your new sister. I have to protect my family. You can wait a year. It's handled. The ledger was not for revenge. Not yet, it was for fuel. Every time I wanted to give up, I opened it. I read one page. I remembered one moment. Then I got back to work. After 2 years in Chicago, when I was 19 years old, I met someone who changed everything. Her name was Dr. Marian Vance. She was a professor of engineering at the community college, teaching 1 class a week as a volunteer because she was retired and bored. She had white hair cut short like a soldier's. She had sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. She had a voice that cut through nonsense like a scalpel. She noticed me because I was the only student who asked questions that made her pause, not because I was trying to be smart, because I genuinely wanted to understand. You're too smart for this place, she said after class one day. Why are you here? I told her the truth, not the whole truth, just enough. My family cut me off. I'm saving up to transfer to a 4-year university. She looked at me for a long time. I thought she was going to give me a lecture about hard work and bootstraps. Instead, she sat down next to me. My husband and I have a spare room, she said. We have no children, we have no grandchildren. We have a house that is too big and too quiet. You will live with us for free. You will go to a real university. I will help you with applications and scholarships. In exchange, you will become an engineer and you will not waste this brain. Do we have a deal? I cried. For the first time in 2 years, I cried real tears. Not sad tears. Grateful tears, angry tears, hopeful tears. Yes, I said. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I moved in with Dr. Vance and her husband, George, a retired history teacher who made pancakes every Sunday and told terrible jokes that made me laugh anyway. They gave me a room with a real bed, a desk with a lamp, a closet with hangers, a key to the front door. They did not ask for anything in return. Dr. Vance stayed up late with me, helping me rewrite my college essays. She told me to stop talking about my mother's death. That's not who you are, she said. You are not a tragedy. You are a triumph. Write about that. George drove me to campus on days when the bus was late. He called me kiddo and asked me about my classes. He put my report cards on their refrigerator, right next to their vacation photos. For the first time since my mother died, I felt like I belonged somewhere. With their help, I applied to universities again. But this time, I had work experience. I had 2 years of community college with a 4.0 GPA. I had Dr. Vance's recommendation letter, which she let me read. Ava Morgan is the most resilient student I have taught in 40 years, it said. Do not let her past fool you. Her future is extraordinary. I would stake my reputation on her. I got into Northwestern University. Full scholarship. Engineering school. I moved to Evanston. I lived in a dorm with 18-year-olds who complained about their meal plans and their roommates and their parents not sending enough money. I was 20 years old and I had the soul of a 40-year-old. I did not fit in. I did not care. I threw myself into my studies, mechanical engineering, robotics. I found that I had a gift for systems and structures. I could look at a broken machine and see exactly where the failure was. The same skill worked on people, on families, on the architecture of betrayal. In my junior year, I did an internship at a tech company in Silicon Valley. I built a prototype for a low-cost prosthetic hand. The company offered me a job on the spot. I said no. I wanted to finish my degree. In my senior year, I won a national design competition. The prize was $50,000 and a feature in a magazine called Innovation Now. The article mentioned my name and my university. It also mentioned, because the journalist did her research, that I had been a homeless teenager after my family cut off my education. My father saw the article. I know this because 3 days after it was published, I got an email, his first email in 4 years. Ava, we saw the article. We are so proud of you. Please come home for Christmas. We miss you more than you know. Chloe is doing much better now. She's engaged to a wonderful man named Derek. We want you to meet him. Please write back, your father, Richard. I read the email 10 times. I felt nothing. Then I felt everything. Anger, sadness, disbelief. A small, weak voice inside me that whispered maybe they've changed. I opened my ledger. I had not looked at it in 2 years. The pages were worn from being read so many times. But every word was still there. Every dollar, every insult, every broken promise. I wrote back, one sentence. I will come for one dinner, New Year's Eve, send me the address. They sent it immediately, the same white house in the suburbs, the same porch swing, the same garden that Evelyn still didn't touch. I spent the week before New Year's Eve preparing, not emotionally, strategically. I had graduated top of my class. I had a job offer from a top robotics firm with a starting salary of $120,000. I had $50,000 in the bank from the competition prize. I had savings. I had a credit score that I had built myself, one small loan at a time. I had Dr. Vance and George, who would be my family until the day I died, but I also had the ledger. I went to a lawyer. His name was Marcus Webb. He specialized in family law and financial disputes. I told him my story. I showed him the ledger. I showed him the emails from my father. I showed him the records of money spent on Chloe. I showed him evidence that I had been a minor when they cut me off. He read through everything. He took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. You have a case, Ava, he said. Not a slam dunk, but a solid case. What do you want? Money. An apology, public acknowledgement? I don't want money, I said. I want something else. I told him what I wanted. He raised his eyebrows. Then he smiled. You're not a client, he said. You're a force of nature. Go get them. New Year's Eve arrived. I drove to the White House in a rental car. A nice one. Black, not flashy, but expensive. I wore a burgundy dress that I had bought for the occasion. Simple, elegant, professional. I wore my mother's necklace, the only piece of jewelry I had kept from her. I knocked on the door. My father opened it. He looked older, thinner. His hair had gone almost completely gray. His eyes had a softness I didn't recognize. He was wearing a sweater that didn't fit him well. Ava, he said, his voice cracked like a teenager's. You came, you actually came. I said I would come, I said, for one dinner. He tried to hug me. I stepped back. My body remembered before my mind did. His arms fell to his sides. The hurt on his face was almost real. Evelyn appeared behind him. She had had work done. Her face was smooth and tight and strange. Her hair was still blonde, but a different blonde. She smiled a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Ava, darling, you look wonderful, so grown up. Come in, come in. Chloe is so excited to see you. Chloe was in the living room. She was sitting on a white sofa next to a man in a blue suit. She had gained weight. Not a lot, but enough that her face was rounder. Her curls were still blonde, but there was a hardness around her mouth that I had never seen before. She stood up when I walked in. Ava, she said, oh my God, you're famous now. I read the article. That is so cool. You were homeless? I didn't know that. No one told me. She tried to hug me too. I let her. Her arms were soft and brief. She smelled like expensive perfume and something else. Desperation, maybe. The man in the blue suit stood up. He was handsome in a generic way, clean-shaven, good teeth, nervous eyes. I'm Derek, he said. Chloe's fiancé. I've heard so much about you, all good things. I doubted that, but I shook his hand. His palm was sweaty. We sat down to dinner. The same long oak table, the same roast chicken. Evelyn had upgraded the china to something with gold edges. The candles were real beeswax. The wine was expensive. Everything looked perfect and felt wrong. They asked me questions. Where was I living? Chicago. What was I doing? Engineering. Was I seeing anyone? No. Did I have a good job? Yes. Did I have a nice apartment? Yes. They asked like they had a right to know, like they had never abandoned me. I answered in short sentences. I did not offer details. I watched. My father was nervous. He kept glancing at Evelyn. He kept refilling my water glass even when it was full. He laughed too loud at his own jokes. Evelyn was calculating. I could see her eyes moving over my dress, my watch, my rental car keys on the table. She was trying to figure out how much money I had, how much she could ask for. Chloe was bored. She talked about her wedding, 7 bridesmaids, a venue in Napa Valley, a band from Los Angeles, a dress from New York. She talked like I cared about any of it. She talked like we were friends. Derek was quiet. He watched me, not in a creepy way, in a curious way. Like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Like he knew something was wrong with this picture and he was trying to figure out what. Halfway through the meal, my father cleared his throat. He looked at Evelyn. She nodded. He looked at me. Ava, he said, we have something to ask you, a family favor. I put down my fork. I know, I said. He blinked. You know? You want money, I said. For Chloe's wedding, or for her legal fees, or for a down payment on a house. Something like that. Something that involves me giving you something I earned while you gave me nothing. Evelyn's smile froze. Chloe stopped talking mid-sentence. Derek's eyebrows went up. My father looked at the table. His face was red. Your stepsister is in some trouble, he said. Not legal trouble, financial trouble. Derek lost his job at the bank. They have credit card debt. The wedding is already planned. Deposits are already paid. We've helped as much as we can, but we're stretched thin. We thought maybe you could help, just a small loan. We would pay you back. I looked at Chloe. She was staring at her plate. She couldn't meet my eyes. You spent all your money on her already, I said. On the lawyer, the tutor, the private school, the car, the horse, the vacations. Every dollar you had went to Chloe, and now you want my dollars too. Silence. The kind of silence that hurts your ears. You remember, Evelyn whispered. Her face had lost its careful smile. I remember everything, I said. I wrote it down. I reached into my purse. I pulled out the ledger. It was old now. The cover was stained with coffee and tears and warehouse dust. The pages were soft from being touched so many times. I opened it to the first page. I placed it on the table between the roast chicken and the candles. This is every dollar you spent on Chloe from the day I moved into your house until the day I left, I said. I have receipts. I have bank statements. I have emails. I have the letter my father wrote to the university saying he would pay any amount to keep her enrolled. I have it all, 4 years of proof. My father's face went pale, not metaphorically, actually pale, like all the blood had drained out of him. Ava, that was years ago, he said. We're a family, families forgive. Families help each other. We are not a family, I said. My voice was calm, too calm. You told me that yourself, in your office, the night before I left. You said you had to protect your family. You meant Evelyn and Chloe. I was not your family. I was not even a consideration. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Chloe stood up. Her chair scraped against the floor. This is ridiculous. You're being dramatic. So you didn't get to go to college right away. Big deal. You're fine now. You're rich. You have a fancy job and a fancy car. You should be thanking us. If we hadn't kicked you out, you wouldn't have become so successful. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The sound was bitter and sharp. Thanking you, I said. Thanking you for what? For abandoning me? For letting me sleep in a shelter? For working in a warehouse until my hands bled while you posted photos of your lattes and your new BMW? I didn't know, Chloe said. Her voice was high and thin. No one told me about the shelter. No one told me any of it. You didn't want to know, I said. You never wanted to know anything that wasn't about you. That's always been your problem, Chloe. The world is just a stage for your drama. Everyone else is just an extra. Chloe started to cry. It was the same cry she had used since childhood, the one that made everyone stop everything, the one that had always worked. But no one stopped. Derek looked at her with a mixture of pity and irritation. Evelyn put a hand on her arm but didn't say anything. My father just stared at the ledger. What do you want, Ava? He asked. His voice was small. Broken, what will it take to make this right? I want you to read the ledger, I said. Out loud, to all of them, every page, start to finish. He looked at the book. There are hundreds of pages, Ava. I know, I said. You have a lot to account for. Evelyn stood up. Her face was red now, blotchy with anger. This is outrageous. You come into our home on New Year's Eve and try to humiliate us? You are a bitter, ungrateful girl. We took you in when your mother died. We gave you a roof over your head, food on the table, clothes on your back, and this is how you repay us? I turned to her. I looked her right in the eyes. You gave me nothing, I said. You gave me a room that was a closet. You gave me hand-me-downs from your daughter who was 2 sizes bigger. You gave me silent treatment when I got better grades than her. You gave me a stepmother who looked at me like I was a stain on her white carpet. You threw away my mother's cookbook. You threw away her photos. You tried to erase her from my life. Evelyn's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. But you're right about one thing, I said. I am bitter, and I am ungrateful, and I have every right to be. I stood up. I looked at my father. You have 1 hour to read the ledger, I said. Out loud to all of them. Every single word. When you are done, I will tell you what I want, not before. Then I walked out of the dining room. I went to the living room. I sat on the white sofa. I folded my hands in my lap. I waited. For the first 10 minutes, nothing happened. I heard whispering. I heard Chloe crying. I heard Evelyn hissing. I heard my father's heavy sighs. I heard Derek asking quiet questions that no one answered. Then I heard my father start to read. October 15th, first year. New winter coat for Chloe, $420. Riley gets hand-me-down jacket from Goodwill. Free. His voice cracked on the word free. November 3rd, horse riding lessons. Chloe. $600 per month. Riley asks for a library card. She is told to use the school library because we can't afford extras right now. The words filled the house. Dollar amounts, dates, comparisons, every favor given to Chloe. Every need of mine ignored. Every birthday where I got a $10 gift card and she got a new laptop. Every Christmas where she had a pile of presents and I had one. Every summer where she went to camp and I stayed home to clean the house and watch her horse. My father's voice got quieter as he read. Then it got louder. Then it broke completely. March 12th, third year, Chloe crashes her car. Drunk driving. Insurance doesn't cover it because she was over the limit. New car costs $28,000. Riley asks for new shoes because hers have holes. She is told to wear Chloe's old ones. Chloe stopped crying. She just sat there, frozen, listening to her own history read aloud like a crime report. September 4th, fourth year, Chloe's university calls about cheating scandal. Lawyer hired. $15,000 retainer. Riley asks about college applications. She is told to focus on her chores. My father stopped reading. He put his head in his hands. His shoulders shook. I can't, he said. I can't read anymore. Please, Ava. Please. I got up from the sofa. I walked to the doorway of the dining room. I leaned against the frame. Keep reading, I said. You're only halfway. Evelyn tried to grab the ledger. That's enough. You've made your point. You've heard us. Are you happy now? I pulled the ledger back. Happy? No, I'm not happy. I haven't been happy since my mother died. But I am not leaving this house until he finishes reading. My father picked up the ledger again. His hands were shaking. He turned the page. He read for another 30 minutes. His voice got hoarse. His eyes got red. He didn't stop. When he finally reached the last page, he closed the book. He looked up at me. It's done, he said. Now tell me what you want. I walked back into the dining room. I stood at the head of the table. I looked at each of them. My father broken, Evelyn defeated, Chloe hollow, Derek silent. I don't want your money, I said. I never wanted your money. I wanted your respect. I wanted a father who saw me. I wanted a stepmother who didn't treat me like a pest. I wanted a sister who asked me one question about my life. Just one. No one spoke. I can't get those things, I said. They're gone. You killed them with years of neglect. So now I want something else. I picked up the ledger. I held it against my chest. I want you to feel what I felt, I said, every day. For the rest of your lives. I want you to know what it's like to be invisible in your own home. I want you to understand that your actions have consequences, not the kind you can pay off with a lawyer. The kind that change who you are at the deepest level. I walked around the table. I stopped behind Chloe's chair. You asked me to help you, I said to her. You asked me for money, but you never asked me for forgiveness. You never asked me how I survived. You never asked me if I was okay. Chloe looked up at me. Her eyes were red. Are you okay, Ava? I almost laughed. Almost. No, I said, but I will be, and that will have nothing to do with you. I walked to my father. He was still sitting in his chair. He looked up at me like a man waiting for a verdict. I am not going to sue you, I said. I am not going to ask for money. I am not going to write a tell-all book. I am not going to post about you on social media. I am not going to ruin Chloe's wedding or Derek's career or Evelyn's reputation. Relief flickered across their faces. It was small and quick, but I saw it. Instead, I said, I am going to live my life. A good life. A successful life. A happy life. I am going to become the engineer my mother knew I could be. I am going to fall in love. I am going to have children. I am going to tell them about their grandmother Sarah, who died too young but who gave me everything that matters. I took a breath. And every time you see my face on a magazine cover, or read my name in a headline, or hear someone talk about the brilliant engineer Ava Morgan, you are going to remember this night. You are going to remember the ledger. You are going to remember that you had a daughter who could have been anything, and you threw her away for a horse and a car and a lawyer and a cheating scandal. My father reached for my hand. I stepped back. You don't get to touch me, I said. You don't get to hug me. You don't get to call me daughter. You made that choice 4 years ago when you cut off my education to protect Chloe's reputation. I am just making it final. He started to cry, real tears, ugly, ugly tears. Ava, please, I'm your father. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but I'm still your father. No, I said, you're not. A father protects all his children. A father doesn't choose one over the other. A father doesn't let his daughter sleep in a shelter while he writes checks for a lawyer. You lost the right to call yourself my father the night I left. Evelyn stood up. Her face was wet. Ava, I was cruel to you. I see that now. I was jealous of your mother's memory. I was scared you would always be a reminder of her. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I looked at her. For a moment, I felt something close to pity, but not close enough. Sorry is a word, I said. Sorry doesn't give me back my childhood. Sorry doesn't give me back my mother's cookbook. Sorry doesn't fix the fact that I spent 3 weeks in a shelter eating soup from a plastic cup while you were posting photos of your new kitchen renovation. Evelyn's face crumpled. She sat back down. Chloe stood up. She walked toward me. I didn't move. I was horrible to you, Chloe said. I called you names. I never stood up for you. I took everything and gave nothing. I am sorry, Ava. I am really, truly sorry. Thank you, I said. That means something, not enough, but something. Derek finally spoke. What do you want from us, truly? I turned to him. I want you to remember this night. I want you to tell your children one day about the sister your wife abandoned. I want you to make sure they never treat anyone the way this family treated me. I walked to the front door. I opened it. The cold January air hit my face. It felt clean. It felt like freedom. Ava, my father called out. Please don't leave like this. We can fix this. We can go to therapy. We can be a real family. Please. I stopped. I turned back. I looked at him one last time. You had 4 years to fix it, I said. You didn't even try. Not a phone call, not an email, not a letter. You didn't know if I was dead or alive, and you didn't care enough to find out. I stepped outside. Goodbye, Richard. I closed the door. I walked to my rental car. I got in. I sat there for a moment with my hands on the steering wheel. I waited for the guilt to come, the regret, the second thoughts. They didn't come. I drove away. I did not look back. That was 3 years ago. I am 25 now. I have a career I love at a robotics company that changes lives. I have friends who know my whole story and love me anyway. I have Dr. Marion Vance and George, who walk me down the aisle when I get married next spring to a man named James who has kind eyes and a gentle laugh. I have a new ledger. This one is not for pain. It is for gratitude. Every page has a name of someone who helped me, someone who saw me when my family did not. Sal from the diner, the woman at the nightlight shelter, the 4 girls in the drafty house who never asked too many questions, Dr. Vance, George, my professors at Northwestern, my colleagues at work, James, who holds me when I have nightmares about the shelter. My father sends me emails every month. I don't read them anymore. He sends birthday cards. I return them unopened. He calls from different numbers and I block each one. Last I heard, he and Evelyn are still together. They live in a smaller house now. The White House was foreclosed. The porch swing is gone. Chloe and Derek got married. The wedding was beautiful, I'm told. 7 bridesmaids, a venue in Napa, a band from Lowe's Angels. The marriage lasted 18 months. Derek filed for divorce. He said he couldn't live with someone who had no empathy. I didn't ask for details. Someone told me anyway. Chloe moved back in with Evelyn and my father. She works at a boutique. She posts photos of her cat on Instagram. She sent me a message once, a long one, saying she was in therapy and she was learning to take responsibility for her actions. I replied with one word. Good. Evelyn works at a department store. She told a reporter once that I was a troubled child who ran away for no reason. The reporter found me. I sent her the first page of the ledger. She wrote a different story, a true one. My mother's photos? I found them, not in the garage, in a safety deposit box that my father had kept for years. He mailed me the key 6 months after that New Year's Eve dinner. There was a note. I kept these. I'm sorry I hid them. I'm sorry for everything. I will be sorry for the rest of my life. I have the photos framed now. My mother is smiling in every one. She has my eyes. James put them up on the wall of our living room. He says he likes having her here. He says she feels like family. Sometimes people ask me if I regret leaving, if I wish I had stayed. Forgiven, moved on. No, if I had stayed, I would have disappeared. I would have become the quiet sister who took care of everyone else. I would have gone to community college and gotten a job nearby and watched Chloe get everything while I got nothing. I would have died inside, slowly, year by year, until there was nothing left but a shell. Leaving was not revenge. Leaving was survival. Leaving was the most loving thing I have ever done for myself. The revenge is what I built after, the career, the love, the family I chose, the life that proves them wrong every single day. I am not the ghost of my family's future anymore. I am the author of my own. Last week, I got a letter, handwritten, from my father. He must have found my address somehow. The envelope was thick. I almost threw it away. But James said, read it, then decide. So I read it. He wrote that he was dying, liver failure, too much drinking, he said. He wrote that he regretted everything, that he thought about me every day, that he wished he could go back and do it differently, that he hoped I could forgive him before he died. He wrote that he loved me. I read the letter 3 times. I sat with it for a long time. Then I wrote back. Dear Richard, thank you for your letter. I am sorry you are sick. No one deserves to suffer. I have spent 7 years building a life without you. It is a good life, a full life. I have people who love me and whom I love in return. I have a career that matters. I have a future that is bright. I cannot give you forgiveness because forgiveness is not mine to give. Forgiveness is for mistakes. What you did was not a mistake. It was a pattern, a choice, made every day for years. But I can give you this. I am not angry anymore. The anger burned away. What is left is a quiet sadness for the father I never had, for the family I never got to keep. I hope you find peace before you go. I will not be there. I cannot be there. That part of my life is closed. I am at peace. I hope you can be too. Ava, I sealed the letter. I mailed it. I did not cry. That night, James made dinner. Dr. Vance and George came over. We sat around the table and laughed about nothing important. George told his terrible jokes. Dr. Vance talked about a new project she was working on. James held my hand under the table. I looked around at these people who chose me, who saw me, who loved me without conditions. And I thought about my mother, about her soft hands and her laugh, about the way she said, Ava, you are going to change the world with that brain of yours. I changed my world. I changed it by leaving. I changed it by surviving. I changed it by choosing myself when no one else would. The ledger is closed now, not because they paid their debt, because I stopped keeping score. My name is Ava Morgan. I am not a ghost. I am not a victim. I am not a charity case. I am an engineer. I am a partner. I am a daughter to the woman who gave me life and the woman who saved it. I am home.